Hi everyone, just wanted to provide a bit of an overview of last week and then talk a bit about a few of the quiz questions and what's coming in this upcoming week here. So last week we talked about a few different things. We talked about strategic planning, marketing, but then also legal regulatory compliance. So both really important areas. We do cover a lot of things in this course, so we don't get to focus a lot on many of them. Corporate regulatory compliance, legal ethical issues, that's actually my area of expertise specifically. So if you have interest in that field or if you want to learn more about it, you will. If you're in the HSA program, you'll learn more about it in a course that focuses solely on that. But you'll also, if you have questions, wondering what jobs are in that realm, etc., please feel free to reach out. That is where I came from. I was a compliance officer. So a very interesting field if that type of thing is something you're interested in. In our discussion board this past week, we went back to the written discussion board, and what everyone was tasked to do was find an organization and then share the mission, vision, and values of that. If they're all available. Some folks only have mission and vision, but share that information and then talk about the organization, either what you're seeing on the web, or if it's an organization that you're personally involved with in some way, maybe as a patient or as an employee. Share a little bit, or a volunteer, share a little bit about that organization and how does their mission, vision, and values live in their operations. So some really good info. A lot of times we really make strides now, really are making strides to truly live our mission and vision in the healthcare setting. That wasn't always the case in the past. So I think we're seeing many more organizations that really are living what they're stating in their mission and vision. And a lot of it comes from the development of that mission and vision, because instead of just the senior leaders making those decisions, it is a grassroots effort now. You have folks involved all the way from the lowest paid employees all the way up through the C-suite, folks of all different levels being involved in the development of strategy. And the first step in strategy is mission, vision, and values. So it's I think because we're seeing that shift, getting more people involved, making it more grassroots, it's a lot easier for the leaders to go out and profess the mission and vision, but then all of those employees that have buy-in are living that mission, vision, and values. So an important reason why we take a look at that. You also had your case study from last week, so I have not taken a look at that yet, but I will be doing that here shortly. And had some issues with my computer. I was unable to open a lot of your papers last week, and have just decided to use my own personal computer. I'm not sure what the issue is. I do know that a couple students had problems uploading their final projects this week, and last week had problems uploading a Word document. If you have an issue when you're trying to upload to Blackboard, please feel free to take advantage of the help desk resources. There is kind of regular help desk hours during the week, and then there's what they call the virtual help desk. So still, please reach out to them, even if it's at night, on a Sunday night or wherever. Reach out to them. There are folks there to help you. They're not maybe the same 2 or 3 that you might know from the live help desk on campus, if you've accessed that, but there are folks that can help you and will be able to troubleshoot so that you can get things uploaded. Okay, so let's go over some of our quiz questions. The first question is, which of the following is not part of the definition of healthcare malpractice? So there are several terms listed. Person in a healthcare profession, obviously that is, in order to have malpractice, there has to be that healthcare malpractice. There has to be someone involved in a healthcare profession. Carelessness, recklessness, and negligence are all things that are mentioned as other answers as well, and they are all part, just like a person in a healthcare profession, those are all parts of malpractice, of medical malpractice. However, the one question, or the one answer, which is our correct answer, is overpayment. So in the case of medical malpractice, healthcare malpractice, it's not, when we talk about fraud and abuse and those types of things, that is not malpractice. That is a completely separate legal and regulatory realm that we deal with. When we're talking about medical malpractice, we're talking about providers, whomever it might be physician, might be nurses, might be non-physician practitioners, technicians, etc. But they are acting carelessly, recklessly, and many times causing injury. Typically, when you see a case come out, it's because they've caused injury to the patient in some way. So overpayment is not involved in the whole notion of medical malpractice. That tends to be more focused in the fraud and abuse realm. So, which of the following is not part of the definition of healthcare malpractice? And that is overpayment. Next question. Ideally, who should provide input in the development of a strategic plan? So the answers were physicians and other providers, volunteers, senior management, or all of these are correct. And our answer is all of these are correct. You really want to have, and I just had mentioned this, you really want to have top down, ground up support for your strategic plan. You need everyone in the organization to have some say, to get involved in some way in the development of that strategic plan, and that will create buy-in. By having buy-in at all of those levels, you'll have a much more it'll be much more likely that people will live that vision, live that mission, as opposed to if an organization allows leadership to simply create it, and then the people that work within the organization don't buy into it. So having everybody from volunteers to senior management to providers to every staff member within the organization should have some say of some sort. Maybe it's through volunteering on a committee, maybe it's through focus groups or surveys. Everyone should have some say on the strategy for the organization. Last question. Organizational dashboard metrics should include a baseline, a target, and a time frame. And it's a true-false question. Our answer to that is true. And it's important when you have a dashboard. We'll talk about balanced scorecards. That's one type of dashboard. You'll learn a lot more about that when we start talking strategy in detail in the strategic planning course. But having those metrics, having that dashboard where the CEO, the chief operating officer, the director of operations for a department, whomever, can just click on that dashboard and bring it up and say, okay, here's where we are, here's where we're measuring at this point, and here's what our budgeted amount was, and then here's the time frame for this entire thing. So you might be looking at census, for example. Here's what the census of the hospital is on any given day. Here's what was budgeted, so here's how many we expect, and we're examining this over a single day, over a week, over a month, whatever the time frame is of that dashboard. You can also look at things like patient satisfaction, something that is going into a lot of dashboards now. So looking at patient satisfaction, here's where we are, here's where we want to be, here's the time frame of this review. So all really important things when it comes to dashboards. So let's talk about this week a little bit. So this week we are moving over to again, talking about a few different things. We're talking about the role of a patient as a consumer. And this really ties in with marketing, which also ties back to strategic planning. Marketing and strategic planning very closely tied. So, but this week we're looking at the role of a patient as a consumer, and then patient family-focused care, which tends to be the way that we're moving with regard to care settings. Instead of it being very clinician-centric, it's now moving to a very patient family-focused care setting. And then also talking about marketing and what are some of the concepts of marketing within healthcare organizations, how do we market currently, etc. So a few interesting things there. In our discussion, again, this week we're going to remain on the written discussion board because I want you to be able to share your piece of marketing that you're finding in the discussion board. So you can share a link to it if it's something on the web. I've had people take photographs of billboards alongside the road. If you're doing that, please be careful. I've had people put YouTube links for advertisements. that you may come across, etc. So whatever makes sense, but that's why we're using the written discussion board, just so that you can get a better idea of what types of marketing folks are looking at. And it's interesting to take a look at all different types of marketing across healthcare, keeping in mind that, and this is in your textbook as well, but we didn't really do marketing in healthcare until the mid to late 80s. It was felt to be unethical to market healthcare services. So we really didn't do a lot of that. And now it's flipped the other way in that you can drive down. If I drive down the parkway toward downtown from RMU, every other billboard is a healthcare organization. So it's very interesting how we've made that flip. Also, as I just looked up here at my television, which is playing in the room here, there are a lot of commercials for drug ads, but also insurers do a lot of advertising. The commercial that happened to be on was one of those that has at the end there's a code. It's a United Healthcare commercial. Something bad happens to someone in the family. In this case, it happened to be something was going on with the baby. Dad fell down, things went crashing all over, and then at the end they always share. It's actually an ICD-10 CM diagnosis code, which is an interesting little tidbit for those that aren't familiar with coding. So, but in that case, it had to do with sleep deprivation. But there are lots of commercials like that that make you remember, oh yeah, United Healthcare, or when we see drug ads, and they really play to our our inner needs that we may, maybe we're struggling with a chronic disease, maybe we struggle with depression or anxiety, maybe we're unable to sleep at night, maybe we have weight issues, etc. So any of those things, those drug ads are really looking to play to our emotions, and hopefully win you over to their drug or whatever it is that they might be selling. So think about the ethics of that. Is that they restaurants do that with food all the time. I may sit here and watch television and see an ad for something that looks tasty, and we've never questioned the ethics of that, even if that food is not healthy for you, etc. But when we start doing that with drugs and healthcare services, is there an ethical issue? So just things to think about this week. We're also going to look a little bit about as I'd mentioned, the move toward patient-centered care. There's a really important reason for this shift. And when we think about how care, the quality of care has not been excellent, and we're really trying to push toward a true quality healthcare system. So our reflection paper this week, and remember, a reflection paper should be your personal reflection. I want you to do the readings that we have this week. Think about, perhaps other things that you've learned about patient-centered care, or about patient-centered medical homes, or any of those types of things that you might know, and then really reflect upon that. How does it impact the healthcare system? How does it impact patients as consumers? How does it impact marketing? How may the shift to patient-centered care impact quality? So think about that as you do your reading, and you also move on to answering those questions. But keep in mind, it's a reflection paper. It does need to be done in APA format, but I also want to hear some of your thoughts, your reflections. I'm seeing some of that missing in our paper from the first week, where you weren't really doing a lot of reflection. I want you to reflect upon these things and give me your thoughts. Obviously, cite things if needed, if you are providing the thoughts of someone else from one of the readings. But if you're giving me your thoughts, that's really what I'm looking for. So if there are any other questions, please just let me know. Otherwise, I'll look forward to seeing everyone's marketing information in the discussion board. Thanks.